Welcome back to Tynecastle. Hearts and Tottenham kick off at 7:45. Now that's behind the warm-up area of the pitch. Looks like your bog standard football stand, doesn't it? It's actually a bit more than that. It's a clever little device here at Tynecastle. If you look inside, there's of course hospitality areas, and that is actually a restaurant area under the stand where the diners get a good view of the pitch, and then when they're all done with their meat and 2 veg, the seats come down and you have your normal football ground. Intriguing. Very clever. Now, the managers here at Hearts, as the man to my left will testify, tend to come and go at a rate of knots. In fact, Paulo Sergio is the 13th boss of Hearts in the 6 years that the Romanovs have been in charge here. The Portuguese coach has been giving his thoughts to Caroline Henderson on what he's getting himself into.
We are doing a pre-season in competition. It's not an easy thing to do. But it's the way it is, so we have to keep on trying to improve every day.
What's the game plan for you? How important is a good start early on in the game?
Against a team like Tottenham, with the players that they have, you should be focused every second of the game. The huge difference between the top teams and the others, it's that in 1 second, one player can resolve the game for you. If we're going to compare one by one, we don't have a chance. But it's the way I want my team thinking. We should resolve our problems as a team. And if I made a mistake, my colleague comes and solves the problem for me. And after, I'm going to do the same for him. And thinking as a team, maybe we can be successful.
You had other offers from other clubs who were potentially offering more money as well. What do you feel that you, as an individual, can get from your time at Hearts?
Today, I'm sure I picked the right decision. I'm 43 years old, and I want to achieve big things as a manager, as a coach. And I think it was not the moment to look just for the money.
Well, he's saying all the right things in these early days in charge, boys, and I'm sure he was briefed to some extent on what kind of job he was taking on. In fact, at the press conference yesterday, we'll get the boys' thoughts in a moment, but just hear from Paulo Sergio at yesterday's press conference after training about a visit to training of the owner, Vladimir Romanov. Here's Paulo.
He made a visit for us. I talked a little bit after the practice with him. Everything okay, no problem. And you tell me the 11 players to play. I will go. No problem. He was lucky. He said all the same 11. Okay? Let's finish like this. Okay. Thank you.
That's how you manage expectations at Hearts, eh? Clever.
Clever. I mean, it's a clever statement because there's been so much speculation. Yeah. But as a manager, you pick your own team. You've got to be able to pick your own team, and I'm sure Sergio will do the same. But in this day and age, you know, as a manager, no matter what club you get into, you've got to get results, and you've got to work with the chairman, you've got to work with the owner, and otherwise you don't last long. I mean, that's the reality of it in football these days. So it's important that you have some sort of relationship, but do your own way.
Yeah.
Pick the team, get your own players in, and then, you know, the results will be your own fault if it don't go right. So
yes.
I think that's very important.
But coaches also need time, support, continuity, all the things they never get.
Yeah, a bit of stability doesn't seem to be the order of the day here, does it, to be honest with Mr. Romanov. But as George says, I think I'm sure lots of coaches enjoy their time here. They come here, they've got great support. I think they realise that, they recognise that, but they probably are using it as a phase in their career, a step in another direction. Maybe that's the way for Paulo Sergio as well. He'd love to be successful, and I'm sure he'd love to be here for a while, but you know, if the stats are anything to go by, he's not going to be here that long.
Now, if Hearts are going to take a goal or a lead to Tottenham, you would imagine look to John Sutton, brother of Chris, well known of course in English football, and John has done all right for Hearts, hasn't he, since he came? Yeah,
John had a great season last season with Motherwell. I mean, he's big, strong, powerful. He's a type of lad you need to play the ball up to. And you win free kicks, you win corners, and if he gets crosses into the box, it's a handful. But he's settled in well. As you say, had a couple on Saturday. was in good form last season, so he'll be one that could cause, as you say, Tottenham quite a few problems.
Yeah, scored a couple, I think, against Aberdeen, wasn't it, at the weekend, so he'll be full of confidence. And of course, I would imagine Hearts will be well aware of what happened to Tottenham at this stage last season in the Champions League playoff against Young Boys. They started abominably.
He looked shell-shocked. He looked blitzed there after half an hour, but to his credit, they got out of that, and then they went on to be terrific. Yeah,
lost 3-2 on the night, I think, with Pavlyuchenko getting the late goal, and then won the return leg comfortably. But at that stage, it did look like a really poor start to a European campaign for Tottenham. Now, we'll take a short break here, after which we'll have a little look back at one of the legendary figures that links these two famous clubs. That, of course, the one and only, the legendary Dave Mackay. As Tottenham visit Tynecastle to take on Hearts for a place in the group phase of the Europa League. This playoff over 2 legs, first leg here tonight at 7:45. But in terms of perhaps a player that uniquely links both Hearts and Tottenham, you look no further than the legendary Dave Mackay, who of course went to Tottenham, was part of the double winning team of the early 60s and captained Tottenham Hotspur to the FA Cup win at Wembley in 1967. Won it all at Tottenham, but won all 3 Scottish domestic trophies with Hearts. Edinburgh born and bred was Dave, and cost Tottenham £32,000 in 1959, which is an extraordinary sum, not by today's standards, of course, but back then I think 32 grand went an awful long way. And famed as he is for so many things, Dave Mackay, as George and Andy will know, perhaps the iconic photo of the 60s in football is that one. Dave Mackay taking young Billy Bremner to task. I think 1966 was the year. He was back from a long-term injury, I gather, and wasn't having any of young Billy, George.
Yeah, he's a legend. I mean, if you go back sort of 20, 30 years ago, you always had players who were winners, who competed, they tackled hard, you had a strong midfield player, a big centre forward, and that's what out the game. But Dave was a gentleman, and you know, what he'd done in his career was fantastic. And then when you speak to him about it, when you did speak to him about it, he loved football. There's a great passion about him when he played, when he talked about the game, and it was his life.
Yeah, one of those players that seemed to have it all, Dave Mackay.
Had everything. He could, as George said, he could play, and he could sort 1 or 2 out if they needed it. He'd have made mincemeat of 1 or 2 of them nowadays, let me tell you. And when
do you think he'd have been on Twitter, Dave Mackay?
When you talk about the wages and that, what would someone like Dave Mackay have been earning in this day and age? You know, fortunes, right up there with the absolute very best.
Fingers crossed he will be here tonight, hopefully, to see his 2 old teams go head-to-head. A man who is here, another Hearts legend, I think part of the Hearts team that beat Bayern Munich very famously back in the day, is Craig Levein, now the Scotland manager. He's had a word with our reporter Ned Bolton.
Well, Craig, you're a bit of a legend in these parts, especially for the audience down south who don't know that much about Hearts. You know, give us a feeling of what this club's all about.
Well, it's a fantastic football club. I spent a lot of years here as a player, and I think 4 or 5 years as a manager as well. So wonderful memories. You'll very quickly realise it's quite an intimidating stadium. See how close the supporters are to the pitch, and there'll be a fabulous atmosphere here tonight.
It's incredibly important as well to a club like Hearts to make their mark, especially when visitors come up from south of the border.
Yes, of course, there's the added spice of the Scotland-England thing. But on top of that, Hearts are sort of 6 games into their campaign. They're battle-hardened. This is Tottenham's first match, and you know, it's quite an intimidating place to play, even for the players that Tottenham have got, especially early in the season for them. So I think Hearts will do quite well tonight.
Physical side?
Both teams, I think, are capable of being physical. I don't expect it to be a physical game. I think it'll be a game of end-to-end football and chances at both ends, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic match.
Enjoy the game. Thanks, Craig.
OK, thank you.
Ned Bolting's been busy rubbing shoulders with the glitterati of Scottish football. We've got George alongside us here. He's had a word with Craig Levein. He's also caught up with a former Hearts manager and now very much part of the coaching staff at Tottenham. That, of course, is Joe Jordan.
Joe, there's some motto in the tunnel that says blood doesn't show on a maroon jersey.
Right.
How much does that say about Hearts?
Well, we've got white jersey in it, so you just need to testify what you see after the game. But we expect that. I mean, I've been here myself in an opposition before, and also being the manager here, so I know what it's like from both sides. It's an arena where you've got to handle I think we've got players that can do that. They are experienced players, and they will need to be ready for from the first whistle, because it is